So with all these claims involving service panels or main breaker panels, now would be a good time to review some of the technical information on these units. Here we see a main panel, which again, I just said might be called a breaker panel, might be called a breaker box. In a commercial setting, they might actually call it the load center. Okay. As we open it up, we need to remember safety again. Only licensed electricians should be opening these up and looking at them, right? So to begin our review, let's talk about the breakers, also known as circuit breakers. All right. We're going to start with that main breaker. May also be referred to as the main disconnect. It's connected to the two hot wires, which are carrying 120 volts each into this box. So let's talk about its function. Main function is to protect the entire panel or the entire system. Let me give you an example. The panel is rated at 100 amps. The main breaker at 100 amps will allow the panel to draw or use up to that 100 amps. At that point, it will break or trip if the overall system draws more than that at any given time, again, to protect the system. Next are the individual breakers, and their jobs are to protect the individual circuits. That's why they call them circuit breakers. For example, a 20 amp breaker will allow up to 20 amp draw on that circuit, or again, it's going to break or trip. So there are different types of individual breakers, and let's start with the most common one, which is known as a single pole breaker. And you see a good representation in that small graphic. They're called single pole breakers since they only draw power from one pole, which is synonymous with bus bar, allowing it to access up to 120 volts. Then we have double pole breakers, and notice in that graphic it looks like two single poles hooked together, and normally they will have that connector attaching the two separate switches, in essence making it one. So what's the difference about this type versus a single pole? Well, they're called double pole breakers since they draw power from two separate bus bars or poles, and they can have up to 240 volts, which of course will be used for your larger appliances and systems in the home, such as HVAC condensers, electric water heaters, electric dryers, electric ovens, things like that. We could also have specialty breakers. One of those is GFCI, which stands for ground fault circuit interrupters. These types have microprocessors in them and are used to protect people from electrical shocks in areas that have outlets and switches that might get wet, like bathrooms, kitchens, garages, the outdoor, thing like that. Okay. Another type might be AFCI. I don't have an example of that, but that stands for arc fault circuit interrupter. Okay, which protect the circuit if there is a short or a short circuit to help prevent fires. This type of breaker is code in most jurisdictions for bedroom circuits, all right, for obvious reasons. Some jurisdictions, it's all breakers besides GFCI breakers. So both GFCI and AFCI breakers will look a little bit different. You can identify them, right? They'll have a test and or reset button and what they call a pigtail, which is that extra little white wire down there that connects to the neutral bus bar. You see it there in the graphic. So when estimating, guess what? You need to know and be able to identify these. They're all going to cost different. You need to count them up, and that's how you estimate the cost of the breaker panel.